To the Performance Mindset Show. Today, I'm joined by Marcy Moneypenny. After more than 3 decades of leading inside institutional commercial real estate, Marcy now advises senior leaders on how careers are actually built, sustained, and advanced in this industry. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and spend time with you, Amy.
Oh, it was amazing. I think the listeners may not know, but we met through CREI Summit that I talk about frequently because
Yes,
it's life-changing,
it is.
and you often talk about how CRE is kind of like this ecosystem and not a
Mhm.
marriage, and I think that's a perfect example. It's just this cool, like, ecosystem, and the things that happen there are just incredible. Do you wanna talk a little bit about that? Because last year was your
Yeah.
first year. Now it's
Last
your
year
5th year in a row.
Oh, see, newbie for me.
Mhm.
And I knew that it was gonna be a lot of marketing, social media, digital marketing, brokers. I mean, how could you not get a better mix of people? And so really enjoyed meeting everyone, and I had so many takeaways that helped stabilize and change the trajectory of a newly found business that I started in May of last year. I mean, I look at what I learned about LinkedIn and X and Instagram is I increased my followers by 30% in 8 months.
So, I'd love to talk about, if you wanna tell us the Reader's Digest version of, your
Mhm.
career, and then how you now have the Moneypenny Collective, and,
Right.
what you're doing and your focus. That would be great.
Yeah, I have a little bit of an elevator speech.
Oh, yeah.
Let's make it, yeah. Back when I was 3 years old, no, actually, uh, I would say 35 plus years of client management in commercial real estate. I've had the privilege of working in every vertical to some degree or another. Spent most of my time on the investor side of the business. So that's working with capital market, leasing, and property management, but also have run a brokerage office before. And so that was all of the verticals reporting to me and overseeing them and helping in that regard. I would say, 15 years legacy at CB. And when I left CB, I was the global lead for the Morgan Stanley account. So for me, loving client management and serving clients throughout my career, that was kind of the the goal of being able to be a global leader for a client. That was just one of my favorite opportunities. And then there came a point I finished at Avis& and Young here in Denver at the end of, April of last year, walked out the door and pressed the button to start the Moneypenny Collective May 1st. And, the firm knew that I have always had this passion of mentoring, coaching, sponsoring, advocacy for women, and instead of doing it either early breakfast, lunch, drinks, my off time, I wanted to do it and embrace it fully. And so that's why I started the Moneypenny Collective is to take all of that earned, if you will, years of experience and pass on what I can to women because I still in 2025, 2026 see these remarkable women who quite frankly are continuing to use hope as a career strategy. And I want to change that one career at a time.
Why do a lot of people in their career, and so they're trucking along and they're making good progress, but I noticed you've mentioned before that a lot of people end up stalling at a certain, threshold. Why do you see that, and, like, what, uh, tactics and tools would you recommend?
Well, again, I said earlier is that hope can't be a career strategy. And I think sometimes with vice presidents, directors, managing directors, they're highly educated value. I mean, they know their stuff, But there comes a time where, whether it's within a firm, whether it's how they see themselves, they need a roadmap. They don't know how to get from A to B anymore. And what they often do is they generalize and minimize what they've accomplished up until that point. And what I love doing is helping people create a roadmap. We strip everything away. Let's talk about what you've done. And as we talk about what they've done, and I start applying different adjectives to those experiences and values to them, their confidence starts to do this because it's kind of like, what is it, a frog in boiling water? You turn up the water a little at a time, and pretty soon you have frog legs. They didn't see the water getting warmer. And for some of us in our careers, all that experience we've experienced, we put it behind us, we're looking forward. Sometimes you have to build on that and you have to remind yourself the awesome things you've done, the incredible leaps you've made, the connections you've had, the value you bring to our industry, and start re-evaluating that and placing the appropriate value on your experience instead of minimizing it. And then we start putting together a roadmap.
Why is it really important for companies to keep the high potential women within their organization and making it a bigger thing than just checking the box for DEI?
Right. First of all, it's really important to retain talent regardless, but we're talking about women in our industry because the cost is huge when you lose someone. First of all, it's a hit to your reputation, the firm's reputation, that they couldn't hold on to someone. Second of all, that position is typically going to be open for at least 6 months, at least. So people in that organization who were around that person are now doubling up and they're doing 2 jobs. So that's putting a hardship on the organization and dissatisfaction. The organization is going to have to talk internally with people, which can be off-putting for some who thought they should step into that position and they're not being considered for it, but they also have to look at external candidates. External candidates are always going to be more expensive than the one who has left that position. So you think about, they may feel like they're saving money while that position's open. They're going to pay for it in the end. Then that new person starts. There is always going to be a ramp up. Sure, they're going to come in. They're going to be smart, highly valued, a great ad for the firm, but there's going to be downtime, getting to know the organization, how it works, making connections within the organization, making clients familiar with the new organization. It's huge if you have to replace high level talent. Absolutely. And one of the things before I left Avison Young, I was awarded with the Global DEI Ambassador Award because I was the global sponsor for the Women's Network when I was there. So making sure we retain talent, we were protecting the people that were there and they were being cared for. Aside for DE&I, for me, DE&I has always been about inclusion, of course, equity, but mostly that it's making sure that diversity of thought is embraced. Because if that's the goal, diversity takes care of itself. So to me, retaining people, again, going back to that word honoring those internal relationships.